How's it going, everybody? You're listening to the Line Sports Talk Podcast. Here we are, October 12th, 2016. Just completed Week 5 of the NFL season. Baseball playoffs are up and rolling and completely awesome, if I might add. Joined here tonight, along my side, as usual, is Mr. Joe Peeps. Joe, what's up, bro?
So much for that even year nonsense. Go Cubs.
Yeah, right. Way to put that to rest.
What a game. What a game.
Yeah,
what a game.
I don't want to bore everybody with the whole story on what happened and how it happened, but I had already taken my sleeping medication, and I was getting ready to nod out. And before I started to pass out, I put the toothpicks under my eyelids, and I kept the eyes open. And you get into the 8th, into the 9th, and by top of 9, I was thinking this game's over. And in the back of my head, I'm going, I know I'm going to pass out and wake up tomorrow when they won this game, and I passed out. So first thing in the morning, I recorded the game. I get up, I'm groggy, I'm all NyQuil'd out, and I go turn on the old DVR, and I get through the game, and I'm trying not to look at anything to see. I'm trying not to pay attention to my phone alerts, which I have 10 of them on the Cubby tracker, and trying to avoid it. I finally get there, and as I get to the 9th inning where I remember falling asleep, I start to see things unfold, and I see Bryant get on with a base hit. I see some pitching changes. I see Madden work some really, really impressive chess against Bochy, which just was impressive. And what you do, but it was good stuff. And then before you know it, Zobrist with an opportunity to tie that game up or to get him back. It was just an awesome, awesome 9th inning. This has been awesome playoff baseball, top to bottom, and I'm just excited for more.
I agree. I really do agree. I think it's only going to get interesting. And I just want to bring up, I don't want to jinx this notion at all, but
no.
I really don't. And trust me, I know that in baseball there's something with it, especially these two franchises I'm about to talk about. But how good is it for baseball? Just the sport of baseball in general, which has really taken a hurt, taken kind of a beating over the years by the NBA, the NFL. It's kind of taken a back seat. You have your casual fan that's, it's just good for baseball that there's the possibility of a Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians. Now, granted, it hasn't happened yet, so don't get too excited yet. I'm trying not to either. But the prospect and the thought of that is absolutely electric. Can you imagine a World Series going from Cleveland, which is nuts right now, over to Wrigley Field in Chicago, and these Cubs fans haven't tasted anything like that in years? I mean, just the thought of that gives you chills. Just the thought of that atmosphere.
But can I tell you that this is my worst nightmare? It really is. It's with the NFL. I'm a Raider fan with the NFL. I am. I'm a diehard Raider fan through and through, as you are a Jets fan through and through. In hockey, I'm a Lightning fan through and through. There's no alternatives. But in baseball, you have your American League team, you have your National League team. It's like the one sport that it's acceptable to do that. And I pull for the Cubs, I pull for the Indians, I pull for the Rays here in my hometown. But I grew up loving the Indians. I moved to Florida and began to love the Cubs because that's all we had in 1985, 86 on television every day during the day because they were day games back then, no lights at Wrigley. So I have all these things, and now just getting into it, it's just I'm irritated, but it hasn't happened yet for me to get irritated and to be a brat about it. If they're both there, it's kind of win-win on both sides.
I tell you what, I was a diehard Cleveland Indians fan when I was a child. When I was a kid growing up, I remember just loving the team. I remember Jim Thome. I can always remember this like it's yesterday. Being 7 years old, I dressed as Jim Thome at Halloween. That night, the Indians played the Marlins in Game 7, and Jose Mesa blew it in the 9th inning. Then Nagy gave the single. Well, if everybody knows what happened, but I just remember. I remember being a 7-year-old boy crying his eyes out after that happened, and then it just seemed like that. The Indians were pretty good in '98. They ran into a Yankees team that was one of the all-time great teams ever.
One of the best teams ever,
but,
sure.
Yeah, but after that, the Indians, as I knew it and I loved as a kid, just fell apart. They completely fell apart. Change in ownership. The Jacobs Field became Progressive Field. I will never refer to that field as Progressive Field. It'll always be the Jake to me.
Always.
Yeah, all that came about, and over the years, my love for the Indians just dissipated with each year. Now I've gotten to a point where now the Indians are good again. They're in it. It's the scene is back. That stadium is electric. But I can't feel it anymore. Like I'm all in on the Cubs right now. I just don't feel it with the Indians anymore like I used to.
That's okay. had a resurrection of sorts with baseball over the last 7 or 8 years, where I was really just turned off by it for a long time. But now I'm trying to look at it from the most positive aspect of it. But let's get on to the games. Cleveland and Cleveland and the Blue Jays have already been established as the ALCS. This is a pretty good series about ready to happen. When you look at these two teams by the numbers, how they've actually compared over the year, I pulled up some info on that. They were 4-3. Cleveland beat them 4 out of 7 games throughout the course of the season. These are two teams that compared pretty well. Cleveland 2-1 at home, 2-2 on the road. So vice versa. Toronto 2-2 at home, 1-2 on the road. But in a 7-game series, Cleveland took it by 1. But 4 of these games were decided by 1 run, which is an indication of how good the pitching was.
It's a very, very on paper, I think the series is very even. I think I'm looking at it on paper here, homie, and it is really tight. It's really tight. I give the edge in pitching overall to the Indians. I love Andrew Miller coming out of the bullpen for them. He's just lights out. He's been lights out. He's got his good stuff working.
What a twist from Tito to use him in the middle innings like that, too.
I hate the jinx. I don't want to be the jinx for the Indians, but you kind of get this feeling. I've watched Cody Allen. He's done his job. But I watched Cody Allen throughout the course of years. He could be that guy, when Cleveland needs it, the thought of Cody Allen looks like he's just that powder keg ready to explode.
We've talked about it for years.
Disaster.
We've talked about it for years, how important a good closer is in Major League Baseball. And a championship run is where the value of a good closer is. We don't have to get into the Riveras of the world because we all know how great that stuff is. But look, somebody does step forward, and year in and year out, you see this oftentimes out of a champion, is that one guy out of the pen just steps up as Mr. Reliable. Last night, the San Francisco Giants, who were my pick to win it all at the beginning of the season, that's in one of our earlier episodes, I believe probably in April, I thought the Giants were, again, that team that would probably be the team to beat as it got down the road, but they never had a closer. In years past, they had guys like Brian Wilson who would come out and be a freaking flamethrower out of the bullpen. They didn't have that guy, and that was evident last night. That ended their game last night. Bochy had no shutdown guy to go to. When you got to switch relievers 3 times in the 9th inning, you got nobody. It's like a 2-quarterback syndrome.
Now, this is all hypothetical. I thought about this. I've seen were the Giants really going to throw Cueto in the Game 5, or are they going to throw Bumgarner?
That was Cueto all day, Game 5. Yeah, that was Cueto all day.
Interesting, because maybe judging by how but it's such a tough call because Mad Bum has definitely shown he can throw. You give him 2 days resting, especially a game clincher. What other pitcher do you want to have the ball? If you tell, like I said to you earlier, if you tell Madison Bumgarner, hey dude, your arm is going to fall off, and we don't give you the ball, he's still going to look at you, spit a wad of tobacco at your feet, and go, "Give me the damn ball."
That's right. No, he wants the ball. He's a gamer like no other. But I tell you, they start Cueto, but I'm sure that Mad Bum would be available in that game. If they needed him after 5 or 6, he'd come in.
Bruce Bochy, I know Johnny Cueto, he made a statement that let's see who has the coconuts or whatever. Bruce Bochy might look at him and was like, I'm going to test to see if you do have the coconuts. You're the one that's going to have to go over there and tell Mad Bum over there that you're starting and not him.
Go tell Bummy he's not pitching.
And you're starting.
Yeah. No, that was Cueto's rock all the way across the board. But it looks like I'm trying to find out who is going to be the day 1 starter for Cleveland here on Friday. Game 1's Friday night at they say Progressive, we say the Jake at 8:00.
Kluber Estrada, just saw it.
Did you just see it? Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Okay, yeah, there it is, Kluber and Estrada. So there you go, Game 1. You got a great pitching matchup. I got to tell you what, that game right there in Cleveland really sets the tone for this entire series.
I think this could go deep. This series, I like the Blue Jays lineup better. The Indians a little more top heavy. They got with the guy with Encarnacion, Batista, JD, Josh Donaldson. You got some big bad. You got Tulo in that lineup. I don't see anybody. I know I hate to keep picking on the Indians lineup because it's very much overachieved this year. The Indians lineup.
Like a porn star big dick orgy, man.
It is very much overachieved. But the Blue Jays, if you're looking at star power and just overall pop in the lineup, you got to give the nod to the Bluebirds when it comes to overall lineup.
Yeah, it's a gross lineup, top to bottom.
Because, I mean, this is a lineup where no lead is safe. I know same thing with Boston. The Indians tended to shut that down. But Boston's weakest link was they learned a valuable lesson from the Indians in October. You have to have pitching to win in October.
You do, yeah. And David Price, again, just not a big game player. All that money. He wasn't a big game pitcher here. With the exception of the year they brought him up, the year the Rays made a playoff run, he was really important out of the pen. After that, just not a playoff pitcher. And now Boston's seeing it. Detroit saw it. The Blue Jays saw it. Look, the Blue Jays weren't interested in giving him $100 million. How much better would you think that Blue Jays team would have been throughout the course of the season with a David Price that could potentially win 15 games in Toronto? Now, that team tied for second place in the East with Baltimore, and they snuck past the Orioles in that game. Baltimore's a damn good baseball team.
Yeah, very much so. Buck Showalter is a damn good manager. He's shown
a damn good manager.
He made a big mistake in that game, and it's something that probably will sit with him. He made a big mistake. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Britain needed to be in that game at some point.
Yeah.
But that's a big mistake made, but he's otherwise been a fantastic manager. His numbers don't lie.
Yeah, maybe there was an injury, an arm injury or something that we didn't know about, or there may have been just trying to rest. You never know, but there is no rest on the 163rd game of the season. There's just no rest. Everybody's in. You got to stay alive to play again. But, yeah, so Toronto edges Baltimore. That's how they get here because they absolutely laid waste to the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, that was a big shock. That was a big shock to me. I thought Texas, I did see this fact, though. Texas had more come-from-behind victories than any team, and you've actually brought this up, than any team in the major leagues. Maybe that took a toll, and maybe all that raw emotion and all that, maybe they just had nothing left by the time they got to the playoffs.
Well, you know, that is something that I have brought up before, and I'm glad you reminded me of my brilliance. I don't know that it's a real thing. I don't know that, but you got to think that these teams winning these games, 14, 15-inning marathons that win on a walk-off base hit or walk-off double, it's just a lot of emotion that's expended, and I think it just blows these guys out. It's a contributing factor. You know what I mean? It's not the reason, but it just makes a season that's a marathon even longer.
Well, baseball is one of the. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wasn't going to say anything too important. Go ahead.
Well, baseball is one of those sports where, in a short 5-game series, sometimes you just can run into a team that just. Look at you play 162 games throughout the season. There's going to be a series where you're going to go into. Even with the same rotation and everything, you're going to go into play a team that's much worse than you. You're just going to have a bad series, and they're going to get the better of you. In a 5-game series in the first round, there's a good possibility of that. The Blue Jays may very well not be a better team than Texas Rangers, but it didn't matter. For that group of games, they were, and that's why they're moving on.
Yeah, I think so, and I think you bring up the point that you're not the best team's not always going to win, especially in a 5-game series. That 7-game set seems to take it out of you. You know what I mean? You seem to really extract who the better team is.
In a 7-game series, it shows more because you have to dig deeper.
In a 7-game series. It really does. It's a lot more time under the microscope for both teams, and the better one usually prevails. If a team is head over heels better, you see a 4-0 series sweep or 5-1.
And this is
you see a beatdown of a winner.
And this is where I do not worry about the Cubs. In a 7-game series, where I do worry about the Indians as far as depth. In a 7-game series, you're going to need it. The Indians are going to they're going to be top-heavy with Kluber in that rotation, not having Salazar and Cookie Carrasco.
Salazar may come back. Salazar may be available.
He may be available, but is he going to start?
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping for his sake that he has a good, healthy start in him. It'd be nice for the guy to have a nice, healthy playoff appearance. So we're going to find out, man. We're going to find all that out.
Even though Carrasco hurts.
Yeah, no Cookie's a problem.